My name is Lauren, and I'm a sophomore at Columbia University. I'm studying English, and overall, I'm just really interested in languages. I like seeing people improve in their English, especially. I like watching them grow. So that's why I tutor for Ringle. So that's a little bit about me. How about you?
Oh yeah, hi Lauren. I'm Yorim. Yeah, so I'm also a university student. Yeah, really impressive that you wrote the you love spreading knowledge. Yeah, that part I really liked it. Yeah, that's so cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's one of the things I really want to do. I want to make sure that people get as much knowledge out of me and out of the situation as possible.
That's so cool.
So before we get started with today's lesson, I have a few questions.
Okay.
I noticed that you have some written answers here. Did you want to go over the written answers separately from the spoken answers?
Uh, Maybe if you ask question, I will try to say it a little bit differently, but I will just yeah look at it and remind me of this.
Okay, so in that case, we can go over the spoken one. And then if you have any questions about phrasing or anything that relates to the written ones, we can talk about that too.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I like it.
Okay.
So I wanted to study deeply about it from like today.
A few quick notes.
Yeah.
So clarity wise, instead of saying study deeply about it, we would normally want to say study more deeply or study in depth.
Oh, studying that.
Just yeah, just because study deeply, it feels a little bit not as natural, especially with the about. Normally, we would try to go as simply as possible.
Oh, okay.
So, what did you like most about Steve Jobs' commencement address? Another word or phrase that you could use
Yeah.
to convey that idea that it was a good thing after all is the term blessing in disguise. Have you heard this one before?
Oh no, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's a really common phrase, and it basically means that something that could be seen as a disadvantage was actually an advantage.
Mm.
And it's a good one because you can use it in a lot of contexts, so it could become useful for you too.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
So there were three main messages in Steve Jobs' Stanford address.
Yeah.
Which one of the messages was the most meaningful to you?
Okay, so as I said before, all three stories were really impressive for me. But the
Mm-hmm.
second one, the about love and loss part was most
Mm.
meaningful for me because um, as I told you before, I only knew him as a successful entrepreneur of Apple. But after I heard that he felt him as a public failure, his attitude toward difficulties was truly impressive. And
Mm. Yeah, I agree there.
yeah,
I noticed a few things here. Quick correction.
yeah,
He felt him as a public figure.
mm,
Here, you would have to use a different pronoun because when you're talking about him, you need to make it clear that he's also talking about himself. Since this
oh,
him here could be anybody.
oh,
So instead, you could say he felt himself. But even better than that would be to use the phrase he felt he was a public failure. So there's two small corrections grammatically. Well, one small correction grammatically and one correction for clarity, if that
okay,
makes sense.
yeah, that's good.
And then a quick note. I noticed you use the word adversity a lot,
Yeah,
and it's a fine word. It's a great word. But some other words that you could use to vary that vocab. You could use misfortune as well, and you could also use a term like bad luck,
mm,
or even ill luck if you wanted. Or the best one, I think, for the situation, for this specific context, hardship.
Okay. I have a question.
Mhm.
Isn't misfortune or luck is about like luck? I mean, like adversity or hardship or difficulty, challenge is about hmm, like like hardship from outside or like inside or something. But luck seems to be something. Uh,
I get what you're saying here.
yeah, I don't know how to explain, but
It seems like it's less about the problem and it's more about something out of your
yeah,
control,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
In English, a lot of the times we actually use these terms interchangeably. In terms of formality, the ones that have to deal with like luck and things that are outside of our control, they're a little more informal. So I'll make a note about that too. Misfortune, bad luck, ill luck are all a bit more informal, but we would still use them interchangeably a lot.
Okay.
Misfortune is the most formal of those informal phrases, if that makes sense. Um, Even though it has the word fortune in it, we normally don't really categorize it in the same way as we would luck.
Mm, okay.
But yeah, you were right to point that out. It can be a little bit confusing.